This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, 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 everyone. Another lovely morning. Welcome to Masai Mara. That's where we are, the Mara Triangle in East Africa. The sun has risen, so it is official. It's another day, and we're out and about to bring you your own live safari. Jumbo, once again, and welcome this morning to your own live safari. We are here in the Mara Triangle, and look at how beautiful nature has set the morning, for us. We have a beautiful Balanitis aegyptica, and all, the sun is shining on the plains. Well, good morning. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungay. Our mission this morning is to go look for Romy, but anything else is very, very welcome. Remember to talk to us on hashtag Wild Earth. Questions and comments are very, very, very welcome. Today our weather is around 16 degrees centigrade, which is about 61 Fahrenheit. Remember to send in your kids' question at wildearth.tv and also at FC. You can also visit our website and send in your question at wildearth.tv. Remember, I'm joined from other locations by my colleagues who will be introducing themselves here in the Mara and also in other locations in Southern Africa. I'll just give you a few seconds just to listen of how beautiful it is over here as we take you to the next location. Good morning and welcome to the other side of the Mara. We have beautiful sunrise. I can see the rays actually penetrating through the clouds. Very, very beautiful. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. What a nice weather to wake up into. I can hear birds chirping. I can hear the yellow-throated longclaws. I can hear some anteaters. No sign of any cats yet, but that's what I'm going to be focused on right now before it starts warming off. And then look for elephants, and then try to look for a cheetah, which will be nice this morning. I like the sound this morning. No better way to describe this other than magical. Linda, this is super gorgeous. Thank you. Silima Stark, thank you for your comment. Savo hunting would be nice, especially on this sunlight. Very, very nice. It's always nice when you stop and just listen to the sounds of the African savannah. So I'm going to carry on and find something else as I take you over to another live location. Yeah.
Park there. Under the tree.
Today we have got Niels de Klerk from the ganglands of Pretoria, looking particularly gangsterish today in his hood. There is a vulture. I nearly said a buffalo, but it's really not a buffalo. They don't look anything like buffalo, in fact, vultures. And it's a good way to start our drive because, well, I've come across to this part of the world because we saw some bataliers and vultures around here yesterday evening on our return from drive, and I'm wondering if perhaps something wasn't killed here yesterday and its rotting remains have attracted the scavenging birds. So that's what we're doing, knocking about this part of the world. You remember, you can talk to us, of course, using the hashtag WildEarth on the tweet. Alternatively, you can send us an email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv if you are indeed a kid. And a kid is defined as anyone below the age of 18, please. No kids who are older than that. And you can also use our website. There's a mechanism on the website, wildearth.tv, for sending questions. That is a white-backed vulture. Now let me shut up while you listen to the glory of the morning chorus.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard to your very own live safari from the African wilderness here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, sitting right here, looking at a faraway distance. Just a little bit of a movement of herds of elephants, but they're actually far from us. And this is how the day is going to be today, sitting on a 16 degrees, 60 Fahrenheit. And it's going to be, probably it's going to change during the course of the day, of course. It's not cloud, so this is all going to burn down. My name is Andrew. On camera, I have Gerald this morning. So this is how we're going to be taking you to a safari live, trying to find animals. It's quite a thicket there where these elephants are right now, but definitely we're going to manage to get around to able to view them. There is a drainage line between us, but before we do that, let's just take a silent of a moment, silence, just listen to bird sounds. All right, so yeah, guys, I'm going to try get around, see if we can locate these herds of elephants right on the other side of the drainage line.
Good morning and a lovely cool welcome from and beyond Ngala. Andrew, I hope you found those elephants. Where we are at the moment, you can see it's a stunning view of the Timbavati riverbed, the sunrise starting in the background. And what we're doing here this morning is actually we found some lion tracks coming this way, and so we actually decided to stop here in the riverbed and have a look. My name is Tessa. I will be your guide today on your safari. And we are really hoping that we find these lion tracks for you today. On the camera we have Owen. So we've actually been looking through this section of the riverbed on our right here, because the tracks are actually coming from the southern bank of the riverbed and coming down towards here. We actually heard them from camp this morning as well. And so we're really hoping that it might be the Birmingham Pride that might be coming back into this side. We actually also had some hyenas that were coming this way earlier. And so I think that's a good sign that we might find them. So our plan for the morning will be to listen while we're here in the riverbed. We're listening for them calling. They've been calling quite regularly. Then we're going to head up towards the big dam in the east, which is called Clara Dam, and see if we can maybe find the lions there. But it's an absolutely stunning morning here. So it's nice and cool, and so that's why we're hoping that they might still be moving. Jenny, our rainfall has actually been a bit different this year. So we've had quite a drought for the last few years and our rain has been quite delayed. But this year, we actually had rain when we should have. It actually started early, which is fantastic. But we haven't had enough rain yet. We did have quite a nice downpour where we had over 100 mils in a few days. But at the moment, we are still needing rain. You can see the riverbed is dry. And it has been consistently dry for a few years. It's only flowed in very short patches in specific areas of the Timbavati River with a very extreme downpour of rain. So we're just listening out at the moment for lions. Right, so we're going to spend a few minutes here just listening out to see if there's anything that pops up, and then we're going to carry on towards where we think these lions might be.
Good morning and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. Another beautiful morning here with our temperatures in the low teens. What we have here is some Springbok. My name is Obakeng, and behind the camera we've got Dave. These Springbok seem to be coming out just from the tree line there, coming from the greenery that's just starting to shoot from the last little rains that we've had in the last few days. Very, very beautiful that the Kalahari is now starting to turn green. These animals are going to be loving it, loving it. Look at that. National antelope of South Africa also, the Springbok. Look at those colors, beautiful colors. Looks like a few females. I do see one or two males also in the distance there. So it looks like a small little breeding herd, or a harem as some would refer to it. Yep, nibbling on all that green. A few lambs from last year. Look at the size of the horn difference. The one just behind, right there. Look at that, small horns. Megan, do we think we can visit the rock stars? Today it's very windy and very chilly in the Kalahari. I doubt they're going to be coming out anytime soon. We'll keep you posted with what happens with them. If the temperature changes during the course of the morning, I will be tempted to go and see the rock stars. I know there's a big love for meerkats, myself included. I always refer to my daughters when anybody talks of meerkats, because I know I get an earful when I get home. It's like, Daddy, you didn't do anything about meerkats. So I will definitely be doing meerkats one of the shows, but this morning it's a bit of a touch and go with that. So please forgive me on that note. There's a mongoose at the back there. Just towards the left of the screen there, foraging about. Yellow mongoose. Thank you, mongoose. But you're still not a meerkat. While we continue, we'll continue looking for other game. We'll send you off to another beautiful location in Africa.
Well, while it's a windy day at Tswalu, we have a perfectly still day here at Beyond Pinda. And we are just having a look at this beautiful horizon, which is stretching all the way to those sort of mountain-looking things in the distance, which are actually the coastal dunes of east coast of South Africa. My name's Ross, and behind the camera today is Craig. And today we are going to be looking for cheetah in the southern plains of Pindang once again. But on our way here, we've just stopped on this high point to have a look how beautifully clear it is this morning. You can see all the way to the coastal dunes, which are the highest coastal dunes, or most highest vegetated dunes in Africa. And then just in front there you can see that body of water that is part of Isimangaliso World Heritage Site. That's False Bay, which was proclaimed in 1994, I think. Don't quote me on the year, but it was proclaimed by Nelson Mandela, our ex-president, as a very, very unique and biodiversity hotspot in southern Africa. And also around us, you can just hear all the birds starting up for the day, starting to do their territorial calling, advertising their territories in what is just a symphony of beautiful bird song. Roxanne, I completely agree with you. This is such a beautiful scene, and it's not often that we get to see it so clearly, because it rained last night and then there was a very sort of fresh wind that blew that I think cleared the sky for us superbly well, got rid of the dust and the sort of other particles that hang in the sky and obscure the horizon for us sometimes. And now there's this crystal clear clarity all the way to the sand dunes, and the sun sort of backlighting them, because the sun hasn't really, it's still behind the clouds, but you can see it shining in the background onto the clouds. It's kind of highlighting that horizon so amazingly well and reflecting off of the water of False Bay. Really is spectacular. There's a Birchall's cuckoo calling, and amongst other birds. It's known here as the rainbird, or in many places as the rainbird, because it often calls when it's just rained or going to rain, and that's just a sign of the beautiful rain that we've been having. We've been hearing these Birchall's cuckoos calling quite a lot. So we are going to send you off to another live location and continue on our mission this morning to find cheetah, and we will see you in a few moments' time.
Welcome back to the Mara, where we come across this big lion sleeping next to the road. But then they're very noisy dogs. Very noisy birds here. I can hear the cocky francolin just going bizarre. They just came and watched this lion and they all went running. Very, very nice. There was a bushbuck barking, and the bushbuck always barks like dogs. I'm sure maybe the bushbuck saw something in the forest, maybe a leopard, you never know. But when the bushbuck are alarmed, they always bark. It seems like a nice warm place for this lion here. I can see the sun slowly warming his mane. This is Ololache. So the mating is over. He was mating a little while earlier.
about 5 days ago with the Olololo lionesses, and I'm sure he'll be walking around trying to look for other lionesses who might be in estrus, and maybe walking through these 3 territories that we always see him around the Owino, around the Olololo, and sometime at the River Pride area. So this is just the boundary between the 3 territories. So where he's pointing his back, that's where the Owino Pride is, and where he's facing is Olololo and the River Pride area. Not quite sure whether the other young lion is close to him, the one from the Owino Pride, because they formed a coalition, they form a team, so they'll always be together. And it seemed like these two are working very well. Last night we heard them roar, which was very nice. Actually, when you hear lions roar, you know that they're patrolling their territory, and sometimes that is a contact call. It seemed like he had a very busy night. I like the way just lions sleep, not minding anything coming their way, just because they're the apex predator. But sometimes they'll be mobbed by buffaloes. If buffaloes walk here and come across this big lion here, they'll definitely push him off. And sometimes I've seen lions like these climbing up trees just because they've been mobbed by buffaloes. Sorry, we have a vehicle coming in. We have some people coming to enjoy this sighting. Very, very beautiful men here. I'm sure he's not going to leave this spot. I'm going to hang around with him and see where he's going to head, because it's cold, it's very chilly, the grass is wet, so he's actually in a comfortable place, warming up. Looks like he's not very unfit. Kelly, the cocky francolin is not actually alarming, but they're communicating. You can hear there's a response if we actually just keep quiet and listen. You can hear there's one on this side and the one behind me, and there's a communication going on between the two. Just listen to that. Yes, Kelly, there's a second response there. So these two are communicating. Ruth, this is Olalashe. You can tell because of his mane, you can tell because of his color. There's a black patch just on the middle of his forehead, and then just towards the back you can see a very slightly black edge. So when you're hiding lions like this, it becomes very easy when you come across lions with big mane, because it's easy to identify them other than the lioness. But sometimes we also look for ear notches, the scratches on their nose, and sometimes also the whisker marking. But in this case, when you don't see the whisker pattern or the whisker marking, we always look at the ear, the edges of the ear, and also the mane. So it becomes easy
to identify male lions rather than sometimes females, especially the young ones who are very, very smooth and the ears are actually not notched. So this is Ololashi. Laila, you find that sometimes lions will be walking alone if they've not formed a coalition. But this guy here has a coalition with one younger male from the Owino Pride. So they form a coalition, but normally you find that if lions have formed a coalition, then the territories expand. They conquer more than one territory. And you find sometimes that one can be over to the other territory, or sometimes there can be two of them. So it's not always that they can be always together. But it depends who owns the territory. If it's one lion, sometimes you can find him by himself. Sometimes if it's 3 or 4 that have owned up a pride area, they can be together. But not always that you always find a coalition males together. And the reason why sometimes lion roar is to make a contact call and announcing the territory. And if he roars, the response he'll get from his coalition partner is that I can hear you, and then they'll together come together and be together. So it's not unusual to find him alone. It's such a nice place to just listen to the cocky francolin while watching this sleeping lion. Let me take you over to another live location.
Something that took me back to my childhood. Now, if you guys look over here, we've got some sap coming out of the tree. And when I was growing up, we used to wonder what makes these trees, we used to call it bleeding. But it's not actually bleeding. So what it is actually where a tree had been it's been scarred, or it's been gorged either by a horn or whatever that could have come there and actually poked the tree. And it's a way that the tree would try heal itself, and this sap starts coming out and sealing that gorge. But growing up, what we used to do is we used to take that sap and actually chew it, and it makes this sticky substance. And we used to actually get big sticks and put them on the ground and put this chewed sap on this big sticks, and a lot of it, and that way would be able to get small passerines come and try eat it, but they will get stuck in it. And that's how we used to actually trap the little birds. So when I saw this with a golden light here in the Kalahari, it just took me way back into my childhood, something you stick with and something you'll never forget growing up. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Here we have got a very fascinating bird. We're still in the area where we'd hoped to find some sort of predatory mammal, but the bateliers and other vultures have moved off, so I think whatever was here is probably gone, but we'll keep squizzing around. This is a lovely eagle because it's interesting in that it's a massive eagle, but it is largely a termite eater. And it is the steppe eagle that has come all the way from the steppes of Northeast Asia. Northeast Asia, yes. And the way you can see that it is the steppe eagle is from its shape, the fact that it doesn't have a sort of variegated, scruffy look to the back of its feathers, and the fact that the wings are not the same colour as the back, which would have defined it as a tawny eagle immediately. And then the other thing that you can see quite nicely in this picture is that the gape extends beyond the middle of the eye. And it's the only eagle in which the gape extends beyond the middle of the eye. So I think I'm pretty clear that this is a steppe eagle. And I think that he'll probably be here for a little bit longer. And then he'll fly off when it warms up a bit and see if he can find himself some termites to eat. They'll also eat things like red-billed quelea nestlings and that sort of thing. But there you've got a lovely view of the extension of his gape beyond the middle of his eye.
Thanks, James. Yeah, we managed to get around on the other side of that drainage line system, and we still find our elephant herds here. And it's so peaceful. We actually have to drive into this wood in order to view them. This is only the number of them we can see right now, but it happens that they're all over, because when we started from the way distance, we saw a amount of them, was a whole group of them, more than this. But the bushes has taken so much space that we can't see further more than this, unless if they come to an open area again. It's amazing, it's so quiet here where we are, probably surrounded by these herds, and they do sometimes make so much of a sound, especially when they're not happy with any other different presence, such as maybe young male that they no longer have to be in this group from age of 14, 15 years. These young male has to be forced to be getting out of here, follow their fathers and uncle out there, and that's where you come across sometimes a whole group of 10 bulls as a bachelor group. Maybe this is where they're going to spend maybe like 20 minutes or so, and they will move. Every time they move, it's a direction of where the matriarch she lead them to. But if she just comes static very much, it means that they have to stay in the area for quite a long until she decided to move. And this is where they're going to follow her. This young male over here looks like it's getting closer to us. The weather is great. Origami, you're right, but we're looking at the very short these tuskers of his. We're looking at anything from above 4 years old, young male. So I think it will actually able to develop slightly longer than that. See, all big females, she's gonna show up into that beautiful open. Since are all spread around here, it will be very difficult for me to tell which one is a matriarch here. But that's actually another good size of a female to be one of them, or senior member as well. And it's amazing how they just disappeared. But we're gonna capture with them again on a road that we were right at. Looks like they're heading a kind of a southern directions right now. So I'm gonna busy turn around just to keep up with them. Hopefully we're able to see how big a size of them. So I'm gonna go back to stand by on that road cut line.
From the elephants back to the lions here in the Mara, and we've come across 3 of the Olololo lionesses. You can see one is beginning to wake up, while the one right of the screen is just sleeping. But this one, I think she's cleaning her face. It's that time of the morning where you need some cleanup. Seems like they were walking and then came to this spot to take a rest. That one is sound asleep. You can see the stomach. Looks like these lionesses were trying to look for something and then got tired and then got here to sleep. Actually shelter from the wind and shelter from the cold. As this sun is slowly rising up, it's going to be a nice place for them to relax a little bit. And looks like they were together with Ololache, because it's only like 100 meters from where I've just left Ololache sleeping. Yeah, she's scanning, she's checking out. You can see how she's sniffing the air while looking. This lioness seems like they are on a mission. And when lionesses want to hunt, this is just the behavior they always perform. They always do. You can see how she's scanning to locate prey. I'm not quite sure what she's seeing. Way over in the distance I can see some cranes, but I'm not sure that's what she's focused on. But anything that walks in the long grass will be a point of interest for this lioness. I can also see ostriches. the migration is over. The wildebeest and the zebras are no longer here. So these lionesses pick something else for their diet. They can go for warthogs. So they specialize in taking down warthogs when there is no game in this area. So as we wait to see what these lionesses will be doing, let me take you over to another live location.
These are two hippos that just appeared out of the blue, wandering along the plains. That female there has got a very serious injury, definitely from a hippo fight, and looks like it's an old one. It's healing. You can tell the edges are starting to bend back towards the body. That was a very bad one. It nearly broke the stomach lining. This could be her offspring. I noticed also she was blind in one eye, that female, so she's been through quite a lot. It is normal for this kind of wounds in hippos. Maybe she got it from defending the young one, and I think that's how she got the wound. Sometimes when new males move in and there is a male calf, the male will try and kill the young calf, and so the mothers become very defensive. And I think that was the case. And it actually tells me why they're out here in the open. They're looking for a place, a pool to rest, at the same time for the female to heal. Definitely yes. If they don't find a pool, they can always stay in bushes like this, but it increases the risk of infection because oxpeckers and other insects will continue actually biting on the wound, feeding on the wound, making it very, very worse. Well, that was a nice surprise. They're heading deeper and deeper into the croton and Olea africana bushes. And this is, why it explains why hippos cause most death in Africa. You can see that in a place like that, a young boy or a lady would come to, fetch firewood, go to the bathroom, not knowing that, actually that hippo is hiding there. It would encounter it. The hippo will feel threatened, and there's nothing else it can do apart from attacking a human, and this is how they cause deaths. But that was a nice surprise. Let me continue on. I'm still here at the marsh, at the edge of the marsh, and my main mission is to find Romy, our leopard with her two cubs. We haven't seen her for quite a while, and she's been hiding really, really well somewhere, along the bushes here. So I've decided to come and see if she's gonna come out. Yesterday was a very cold night after the rain, and maybe she will come out to sun, which would be perfect for me to find her sunning with her two cubs. You can tell there is a lot of dew on the grass. Definitely it is cold, so most cats will want to be out sunning. But the marsh is very empty now. I think there is enough water for everybody everywhere, and so they have left the marsh to go and utilize what is out there and leave the marsh to rejuvenate, so that they can come back when it's got grass all over.
I wish him luck to find Romy. But here our lioness has just woke up and went to find some good spot to drink. Look at how she's drinking. You can tell she's thirsty. It's a nice morning for a cold drink, and I think that's what she's enjoying. She looks pregnant to me. I think that is satisfying now. Back to our mission. By the look of how I was watching this lion, I could tell that she's up to something. And this is on a hunt mode. So I'm just going to keep a close eye on her to see what she ends up to and where she goes. Because there's no plains game, there's no animals around here. So sometimes when they walk like this, slowly, they can be searching through the bushes, because sometimes you find reedbucks like hiding in the bushes or other smaller antelopes. Even though we saw her rather in with other two lionesses, sometimes they can also be walking out alone to go and find food, and after they locate, they can always call the rest of the members to join in. I like the elegance walk. See, she has to go through that bush to check out. Look at how slowly she's just approaching the bush, because she knows there might be something there. Yeah, let's stop, scan. She's checking whether the sister is following, but I don't think so. Oh, are you going to sleep there? Oh no. Maybe she's tired. Let me just pull over and just head there and see what she's going to be up to, or if the sister will join, because it seems like a very shaded area. I can tell this lioness is tired, because it's warming up. It was a very cold night. It rained last night. So to come and walk into shade at this time, it seems like, yes, she might have tried maybe to hunt and got tired. That's a nice spot to come and rest. Her face is covered with flies, and sometimes out in the open they get bothered by the flies. So sometimes we find lions here will pick the croton bush, where the croton bush acts like the repellent, but this is not a croton bush. So out here we don't have lots of croton, but towards the riverside we have lots of crotons. But it's a long way for her, so any bush can come in handy to just cover them for shade. Oh, the sister has joined in. That's an allo grooming. That is how they enhance the bond between members. Oops. So I'm going to hang around here, see if these two lionesses will wake up and carry on their mission, or maybe they'll keep on sleeping as I take you over to another live location.
Tswalu Kalahari, welcome back. We've got a journey or giraffe. Look at the dimensions there. One male, a couple of youngsters, and a few females. Interesting that when they do walk is when the term journey is referred to, but when they're standing, they call the tower or an elevation. A very interesting phenomena there. The male investigating the females there. Look at what he's doing. Just trying to find out if the female would be ovulating soon. That's why he's got his head stuck almost there, just trying to smell and get the pheromones from the female. Let's see what happens next. Very persistent. We'll keep following this. Look at that. He still wants to get more. Sometimes they don't get the pheromones on the first attempt. Look at that. Phlegm and grimace. Curling the lip like that and putting all those pheromones directly onto his veronasal organ, and it's pheromones coming from the urine itself, and just analyzing all of that. Taking a moment to process that. Doesn't seem like there's anything of interest there for him. But very interesting. If you look at what the giraffes are doing, they're actually walking into the wind, which is something a lot of browsers would do. Now, we were just talking about that sap earlier on with the tree healing itself. Another interesting thing with these Senegalias and Vechilias is they don't produce a lot of tannin, which is a chemical that trees communicate by and actually help themselves from being foraged on a lot. So because they've got thorns, they don't need to produce a lot of that. And that's why these browsers would go more for them. And that's another reason why these browsers are also heading into the wind, avoiding the wind carrying the message or the tannin from one tree to the next, because what will happen is when the tree has been molested, it will start excreting an exorbitant amount of this tannin, and because it's such a light chemical, it will be blown from one tree to the next, and the next tree, without being even fed on, it will also start excreting that tannin. And what that tannin does, it makes it taste very bitter to the animals. And that's why they don't spend a lot of time now on one tree. They'll nibble a little bit and continue moving. As they walk along, I'll try drive along them and see what happens.
Now we have come to the waterhole at Chitwa, where there is a, well, I nearly said beastly crocodile because that is the vibe they give off. I don't actually think that they're beastly. And I wanted to stop here and talk about this crocodile briefly because I have been guilty of doing the following myself. I've been guilty of calling them dinosaurs and ancient relics of another time, which of course is absolute garbage. Crocodiles are relatively modern evolutions in the world of nature, and in fact are not much older than human beings. Human beings, at the last count, became anatomically modern around about 300,000 years ago, and I think that crocodiles are between 400 and 500,000 years ago. And when you consider that the dinosaurs died out, oh, I never remember this. I think, is it around 50 million years ago? I never remember entirely, but it's, it's eons and eons before the last evolution of the crocodile. Anyway, they are not ancient reptiles. They just look like they are. They're actually relatively modern, and they're probably younger than animals such as impala, which I think are about 5 million years old. So rather like us. They're evolutionary infants, which I think is quite interesting. There's a guinea fowl that has lost its mind not too far from the end of this waterhole. I initially thought there must be a leopard there, but in actual fact, I think that guinea fowl has literally just lost its mind. It's on its own, walking across the ground, screaming its head off. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, the other thing to say about this crocodile is that, we haven't seen it for a while, and it's quite often got a partner in this part of the world. But it is once again a reminder that even though you can't see a crocodile, it does not mean they are not here. And so when you find yourself on a safari one day, walking through the Tswalu, for example, very hot and tired and bothered, and you come across a delightful looking pool and a river, you think, gosh, doesn't look nice for a swim. Don't go anywhere near it, because therein could be a dastardly crocodile, which, unlike many animals out here, does not see you as a particular threat.
Well, we have found a buffalo herd that's just waking up. There's also an anti-poaching aeroplane flying overhead, so there's probably that rumbling noise that you can hear. It's not quite the buffalo stomach just yet, as they haven't started feeding. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is BK, and we are here on... You can do your thumb. Why do you get so nervous, BK? Oh, he keeps punching the presenter light. We're here at Pridelands Conservancy, which is part of Balili Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger National Park. BK is, in fact, a very confident person. But, yes, so we just managed to find the buffalo, which was quite cool. We stumbled upon them, and as we arrived, some of them were getting up, doing big stretches, morning constitution. There are others that haven't quite woken up just yet, but these buffalo do the same thing every single day. It's quite nice to have finally figured out where they're sleeping, because often, and I'm convinced that this particular species, well, this, something's just given them a fright. And now, buffalo are very nervous. I watched a huge herd of buffalo, a few hundred, stampede because of a daker once, so... they can all be a bit panicky sometimes, that herd mentality. If one runs, we all run together. But anyways, what I was going to say to you is that we normally only see this herd of buffalo at watering holes. And I was joking with a friend of mine yesterday saying that I'm convinced that this particular group of buffalo have been misclassified, and they should be moles, because they just disappear. You cannot find them once they've left the watering hole, they've vanished into the drainage systems, never to be seen again, only in the afternoon once they come down for a drink. But I have no doubt from this nice high resting point where they would have kept quite warm last night, it was very chilly, they'll head down towards Vervet, so we'll definitely see them drinking. There's a little one, having a bit of a scratch. It's always nice to see them all nice and clean before they go and get muddy for the rest of the day. And it's going to be a hot day, so we definitely won't be seeing shiny black coats, or maybe there was like a combination of black and brown. My colour palette is not particularly advanced, unfortunately. I didn't do art at school. Can barely draw a stick figure. But anyways, they're going to coat themselves in lots of mud, I reckon. It's going to be it's not too hot today, BK, so we don't have to worry. Like 30 degrees Celsius, maybe a bit more than that. But lovely anyways, though. It really so amazes me how flexible they are, these buffalo. Also, I don't know how I'd feel about using my hoof to scratch my eye. I would go blind. I would definitely poke my eye out with my hoof. That would 100% happen. There's a cow just keeping a close eye on us as well. A few of them are not very impressed with us this morning, with lovely sicklebush flowers just in front. It is nice, to see all the different flowers about. I know that James must be quite happy. He loves the flowers. I can't wait till we can get out of the car and then we can start doing a few little creatures that live down on the ground. That's also an exciting moment for us here at Pridelands. Also, all the birds just starting to wake up. You can hear the chirping. Rattling sister killers are going. Crested barbets also. Peter, you said you love buffalo herds. I do too, but you know what I really miss, Peter, is the exceptional breeding herds of buffalo. Like, this is lovely. This is very nice to see, and we get to see them all the time, which is quite cool. They've decided to live here because they haven't really moved for the last few months. They just do the same loop over and over, which means that there's sufficient grazing, there's sufficient water, which is awesome. Good indication for the ecosystem that it is in good nick. I miss seeing hundreds of buffalo like you'd see in the southern Sabi Sand. Goodness gracious, when I was guiding down there, at any point we could have 2 herds of over 500 on the property, and to be surrounded by them, because that's what they do. They just walk and then they walk right past your car, and the next minute you're in the middle of this herd of buffalo, which is quite a special scene. And how we used to find them was by dust clouds. That I used to do a lot of when I was working up in Zambia as well. You would literally just look for the herds get quite big. They're also well over 1,000 buffalo in one herd, all grazing together. And you would just sit and you'd look, okay, there's a big dust cloud. That's perfect. That's where we're going. That's where the buffalo are. And it was amazing to use different techniques. Obviously, here we're looking for footprints. If you sit quietly, buffalo typically can be quite vocal. There's often a bit of chatter amongst the herd. You can maybe listen out for them. And then, of course, other than their footprints, they typically leave lots of feces around again. There's the anti-poaching aeroplane doing another lap around, making sure everything is good from an aerial perspective. They're all moving off now. But unfortunately, they seem to be taking a little bit of a turn, heading further northeast into the thickets. So maybe we'll head down towards Vervet and wait for them there.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. We have just found the Ross male, who is the dominant male, him and his brother, of that Birmingham pride that we were looking for. There he's getting up. Alright, this is absolutely incredible. We're gonna go and follow him. Right, so he's been looking for the pride the whole morning. He's the one we think we heard calling earlier. There he goes. Right, so we think he's on a mission to find the rest of the pride, which is why he's been calling, or maybe even his brother. And the direction we're heading in, there is actually a buffalo herd that's been reported in that area as well. We're going to keep following him for now. Alright, so we're going to actually try and get around him so that we can have him walking towards us. Alright, so we're going to keep following this male. Hopefully he takes us to the rest of the pride. But it's an amazing, cool morning to keep walking.
I've come back to this spot where these lions are still sleeping here, and it seems like they're going to pick this spot for the entire day. Looks like they're tired. Look at her tummy there. Seems like she's pregnant. Not that she's eaten. She looks actually pregnant. So the other lioness has decided just to stay where we found them sleeping before they got to this spot. And I think I might turn back and go see if Lulashe has changed position or he's still at the same position where he was. This is a nice spot, especially because there's a path just behind that bush, and animals use that path to go drink water. They use that path to head to the marsh. So it's a nice spot where lions sometimes can lay ambush. And sometimes when they're sleeping through the bushes like this, you find that game will not know whether there are lions there, and sometimes they can be surprised by the prey. So it's sometimes nice to sleep here because it creates shade, and sometimes animals can come just towards your direction. Sheila, thank you for your question. It's not hard for lions to take kill or to make a kill when it's green. Because when it's green, that means that lots of animals will come to eat. But sometimes you find that because of water and because it's green, food is evenly distributed. So you find that they have to walk to where they have to find food. So it's not hard, it's not easy, but lions have that technique, the experience to go and find food. So I would say it's 50-50, where sometimes when it's green, they can go for a long distance to locate prey. So I'll leave these two lionesses sleeping. Let me try and see if our male lion has decided to take a move or is still back there. As I turn round to find a nice position to go find the lion, let me turn you over to another live location.
Earlier on the show, I was asked if we're going to check on the rock stars. We've got meerkats here. It's not the rock stars, but I think we'll have a better luck on this barrow system. It's right out in the open where it's very sunny where it is. It looks like they just starting to get a little bit active. So there's one member of that colony or clan that has just picked its head out. So we're gonna stand by here and see if they do come out and give us a bit of a show. It looks like he's still assessing the outside, if it's safe, if it's worth coming out, and he'll give the message with the rest that are still in the barrow. Doing it all 360. Have to exceptionally make sure that everything is safe before. I see a second head popping up there, Dave, to the right. Yep. There we go, there's a second head. It looks like a youngster, so let's see what happens. Maybe more of them start coming out slowly. Gone back down, maybe sending the info to the rest of them underneath. You can imagine with a lot of wind like this, the hearing gets a little bit impaled, so they would be a little bit wary. Michelle, it's very nice to see or catch them as just they get active. It's nice to see how everything just gets woken up and everything gets to unroll. And gone back down. Still not very sure about what to make of what he's seeing outside here. Silly my sock. This is not the rock stars. It's one of the meerkats that we find in the reserve that are not as habituated as the rock stars. And I think this would just be our luck for us to see if they do come out. As I was explaining a little bit earlier, that there is a lot of wind and it's a little bit chilly. So with this barrow, I'm just taking a chance because it is quite in the open. There is a bit of vegetation around it, but there's a lot of sun coming direct to it. So I'm hoping that would be our saving grace to see a little bit of activity happening around here. Lauren, how many pups do meerkats have? It would vary from time to time, but they can have anything from 1 to about 6. The norm would be about 4, and usually it's the alpha of the females that would have the litter. It does sometimes happen that the beta female, which is the second in charge, that would become pregnant and she would be let to keep those youngsters. But in most cases, they would have to break away and start a new colony if the beta female actually is impregnated. Or what would happen is she would actually have to give up her youngsters, in the sense that they lose them by being killed. So it just depends with the demographics of that particular colony or that particular clan, what happens with them. So you get exceptions where there's 2 females giving birth at a time, and sometimes not. So that would be the determining factor of how many pups you would get within one barrow system. But also remember, with meerkats, they will also use different barrow systems. So within a territory of them, they would have maybe 3-4 different barrow systems. So in a case where maybe it is allowed that the second female has babies also, or pups, it could happen that she occupies a different barrow system, and that's how the colony would grow much faster. But because of hierarchy and discipline, in most cases the alpha female takes charge and doesn't want any other female giving birth, and all the other meerkats then have that social responsibility of helping raise those youngs. You'll see once they start learning things like foraging, at times you get individuals each day mentoring a youngster and teaching them things like how to dig for scorpions and so on. I think this morning we're just going to be lucky with those 2 individuals coming up. I will let them be, and we'll send you off to another beautiful property in Africa. Well, here I have a beautiful herd of elephants grazing and enjoying the morning sun. These are few elephants, not very small, but quite small. You can see them there. You can see her. That's one. But there's another herd behind me that has broken from this one. These, I believe, were born here in the triangle not more than a month ago. It's still very small, trying to make use of its trunk. Remember that at birth, the trunk is not as useful, but slowly, as they try to realize what it is while swinging it, it develops the muscles that become active from the age of about 2 months onwards. Here it's a mixture of young bulls. This guy facing us is a young bull, who I think is part of this herd, as he's here, but he's gonna break off and join a bachelor herd. Males usually leave their maternal family and join a male herd from the age of about 15 onwards. They can start actually showing male behavior from the age of 7, but at 15 they'll join a bachelor herd, and onwards they might be alone or in a group of males. The one in front definitely is, the one to the left is definitely the matriarch. I can tell by her looks. She looks experienced. She looks much older. And I think that calf definitely belongs to her, as it is following her closely. Yeah, here in the Mara, we have no shortage of this size herds. Matriarchs like this are very useful in a herd like this because they are the masterminds of everything. They were not here when I arrived. I had scanned all around, and they just appeared from the forest to my right. And you can tell everybody is heading towards her. So definitely she is authorizing and telling everybody which direction to go. Remember, elephants is our biggest land mammal here in Africa, weighing up to around 6 tons for fully grown males, about 4.5 for females. The longest gestation of any mammal in Africa, 22 months. Young ones are born weighing over 100 kilos, and they depend on milk for up to around 2 years. The more they eat more solids, the less they drink, and the more they become independent. A herd like this is made up of related sisters. They are youngsters and cousins, so they're actually cousins, grandmothers. That's what they are. And the younger females usually take care of the younger ones, but the final call is always done by the matriarch in case there's a decision to be made. We have around 35,000 elephants in Kenya. That is a very low number considered to what they were about 100 years ago. There were over 500,000 elephants, so they have rapidly dropped due to illegal trade. Remember to talk to us on #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. Female elephants reach maturity at the age of around 13, and they can live up to around 65 in both males and females. At that age, they still can produce, so they never reach menopause. Tyler, is it true that they remember everything? Yes, it is true. They have a very well developed, memory capacity to remember, almost everything. And they have actually a very large brain, making them actually having one of the biggest brains of most mammals. And it is true, yes, they don't remember. They don't forget whatever happened or whatever is happening. So it is very essential for a female, an old female, to be alive for a very long time to pass on the knowledge to the others. That is a lone one that is quite far away, surrounded by great white egrets, and I think they are taking advantage of what she's disturbing I don't know for what reason that she's alone over there. She could be part of a herd that broke away, but she felt like she wanted to be there, or this herd belongs to her, so they're heading back towards her. Remember, they can communicate with very low frequencies that we cannot hear, and so maybe she wanted to be there and everybody else is heading towards her. The sun is just right for everybody to be out after a very cold night, and I think that's why they've come out of the forest to enjoy this beautiful sun. You can tell the tails wagging means that everybody is jolly, everybody is happy. Not very many elephants in this herd, but looks like the one that broke away behind me to the forest had more. We'll be sharing them with you if they come out, but I'm gonna stay here for a little bit longer.
From the happy elephants to a happy lion. See, he's out here because it's warming up. He's sunning his body because it was a very cold night. It was raining last night, and that's why he's out here to just relax and enjoy the sun. But I'm sure on the heat of the day, he just choose a tree where he just go down and lay there to spend the rest of the day. Because those lionesses seems like they're not going to be on a hunt anytime soon. But sometimes you find they might be out on a hunt in the late afternoon, because that's a good time to hunt, especially when there's lots of water like this. So good thing that he is welcome in the three prides, the Ololo, the Owino, and the river. So if they have a meal, he'll definitely have to go and share. It's a nice spot for this lion to come and sit here and rest, because you find that if he goes in deeper, it's a little bit wet, and cats don't like getting wet. That's the reason it's just next to the road. What a nice spot. He's patrolling over lots of territory for the last 2 weeks. He's been up and about. So he's just going to hang around with him here and see what he's going to do, if he's going to head off to a place of shade or just remain here.
From Ololashe back to the Ross male and beyond Ngala. Seems like sleeping is the trend for male lions today. But interestingly enough, you can see how full the Ross male's belly is. And I noticed earlier, if you have a look underneath his belly and at his paws, you can actually see a reddish color. And so I think what happened was, while he was eating this meal, you can see all of the dried blood and the dirt. I think he actually lay down in a pool of blood and possibly even entrails from whatever it was that they were eating. And so it's no wonder he is so lazy today. If he's eaten so much, his body's busy overheating at the moment, trying to digest all of that high protein red meat. One of my favorite things about this particular lion as well is if you have a look at his nose. He's got a very, very, very black nose, but his nostrils are so much bigger than the other male lions. And it's incredible. You can see like a little bit of a slit going up the side of his nostril, a bit of a change in shape of the nose. And that's because when he would have been feeding last night, he would have had his entire muzzle pressed into that meat eating, and so he needs those little slits on the sides of his nostrils that extend up towards his eyes so that he can breathe while his nose is pressed against his food. It also helps with cubs as well when they're maybe suckling. But I just love his little white beard as well that he's got. This particular male is quite covered in scars. And I think he's just having a rest before he goes to find the other lions. We've still got a bit of a distant sound of the other lions roaring and making a noise, and so I think they might be a little bit further to the east. But he's chosen a perfect spot to rest for today underneath these guarri trees. It's nice and cool today, luckily, as well, so he doesn't need to worry too much about panting at the moment because it's an overcast day. I'm still wearing a jacket, actually, which is quite unusual for our spring. There you can see it's overcast, nice and cool. So it's actually perfect for him to be digesting and resting at the moment. So there was a question earlier about yes, he does have a food baby at the moment. His stomach is very, very, very big. He's definitely got a bit of a food baby there. And I know there was a question earlier about whether they can see ultraviolet light. So lions can see more ultraviolet light than we can as humans, but it's not on the same spectrum as other animals that would use ultraviolet light. So he can see images a lot more clearly and in much brighter colors than we can, especially moving into the night. But they don't see particularly only in ultraviolet light or anything like that. They just see a much sharper image than we would. But they've got excellent eyesight compared to us as is. In fact, I think all animals might challenge humans. I love that his mane is starting to go nice and dark on the edges there, down towards his chest. Even behind his elbows, actually, you can see a bit of the longer mane starting to move through there. I think if I was any animal, I'd like to be either a leopard or a big male lion that gets to relax with a big full belly like that. Not too far off from when I'm watching TV at home. Ruler of inches. A sleep schedule for a lion is quite an affair. A male lion like this, especially with a full belly, might sleep for 20 hours of the day. On average, a lion spends between 16 and 20 hours sleeping a day. But like this, it's nice and cool. He doesn't need to move. So he could sleep all day. He might just reposition here and there if his stomach gets a bit uncomfortable. And then the main times that they would actually be moving would be through the night. So if they are active, maybe they might be active around midnight or between there and, say, early hours of the morning for maybe 2 or 3 hours, sometimes 4. But I think for him, he doesn't have a sleep schedule. He has just sleep, and then every now and then he might wake up. So there he's just shaking off the flies. He's actually not bothered at all, and he's going to be nice and comfortable for the whole day. Oh my goodness, listen. Hear him roaring. The height of laziness really to do it while you're lying down, but it's a great way to advertise where you are and where your territory is. I can't say I've ever seen a lion with a full belly lying down on its side and roaring until now. Definitely a first time for everything out here. I wonder if he can hear what we can't, because he might actually be able to hear the other lions in the distance. Maybe even his brother might be with the rest of the pride. Maybe he's just advertising to them where he is. At the same time, then other lions will also know that this territory is taken. So we're going to sit here with him and see what else he does with that full belly. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
Whoa! Choo! You came across here very fast. Niels and I were just discussing the bushwalk and saying how we missed it. Anyway, here we have got something bushwalkish. It's a beautiful grass species, and I don't know what grass species it is. I don't have my grass book with me. I feel like I used to know, but I don't think it's an Eragrosta species. It might be a Stipagrosta species, but there's a little bee in it resting. I don't know what kind of bee it is or what form of life it lives, but you can see the little bee there. And I'm not sure if it's just punch drunk on the joy of the nectar it's found in this grass, or if it's in fact a kick at the bucket sometime yesterday, but I think it's just a lovely little picture of a bee in its element, I suppose. Beautiful grass, beautiful little insect. Gentle scene. That is a very irritated rattling stickler that you can hear. Shut up. Shh. I was hoping that it may have seen a leopard, but I don't think that it's seen a leopard. There are, of course, hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of bees. Not all of them swarm, or in fact probably very few of them swarm, and very few of them make a honey that is worth a dime, and I suspect that this is one of those. He just goes about, I don't know where, if he makes any form of honey, she most likely, but there it is. Okay, let me put it back now. I felt a little bad as I picked the grass stalk because I thought to myself, surely, what happens if I just put it on the ground? Then what's this poor little bee going to do? It's going to wake up all confused, not know what's going on. So I'll sort of put it in an upright position over here. And, well, hopefully when the bee wakes up, it'll go and find another nice piece of grass to sit in.
Tswalu Kalahari, what we have there at the bottom corner left-hand side there is some bed-eared foxes, renowned for their very big ears, which also helps them thermoregulate. But what they are doing at current is actually using that tree to block the wind. And also there's a few individuals that have clumped together just to try and keep the body heat amongst themselves going. We started off in the distance like this because they are a little bit of shy animals. So I'm gonna try maybe reposition and see if we get a better view of them. Let's see. Can try there. There we go. Maybe that's a better. There we go. You can see those big ears. It looks like two individuals right there. There could be more though. It's like now they would be more active at night, and at this time of the day, this is where they'll find a shade like that or a very thick area like that to spend the day. But in the winter months, because it's cooler, you'll find them being more diurnal. Look at that. Maybe three. See more ears coming out. There we go. One. Maybe three, four. Yeah, very shy animals.
So they were spooked by a bird. There's a bird that flew by them. And that's definitely what spooked them. And off they go. So we will let them be and not follow through. But it's just to show how shy these animals can be. And that's why we started off at a very far distance. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. We'll send you off to another beautiful location in Africa.
Thanks, Obi. We now came to the Pride of Lions, and it looks like the hole just flat. All of them just flat, like they're so beautiful, and looks like it's a Talamati Pride, I think, from just looking at them. And this is actually when they cross, since we couldn't find them yesterday, and they cross the southern border, very much south from where they normally move around. So you can see one of the Avoca males still here with them. He hasn't separated from them yet. Just from looking at them, they don't actually look like they have eaten recently. They're all cleaned and they're not painting at all. And they're all cuddly. That's why it's so important about lions being in a pride. All understand one another, all love each other. And they hunt in pride. As a group, cooperate hunter makes them success. So beautiful. This is probably, it's been going on and on the whole morning. Lie down and then roll over, change position. And I have been lucky with such a great weather since a couple of days. It's been so cool for most cats to be able to use their energy hunt. It was not actually very hot. Even this morning still covered with cloud. Which means whenever they feel like they're able to get mobile, hunt again. Big paw there, look. Just take it easy. I don't think there's anything disturbed them since, well, they're not actually one of the animals that they will be fear so much of other, except for elephants. A rhino will disturb them. Herd of elephants will disturb them. But the rest, there are prey species for them. Whatever comes into this position, more likely to get hunted or killed. Can you repeat that question again? Good morning, leopard lover. Yes. So they do actually have her, since they're actually the biggest cats. No, we don't have a tiger out here. So there seems to be one of the biggest foot paired. So wherever they move, if you're ever actually able to get close enough to where they have step on, their foot structures look bigger than most of the other cats around here. Especially the four legs, and then the foot structure most bigger because they all support their whole weight. But the back legs seems to be smaller, but applies the same to the elephant with the old four-legged animal, that always the front foot, its structures looking at the sides is much bigger than the back. But that's because of their weight is all right in a position of their shoulders and neck and their head. And their back legs only follow as they move. Yeah, I mean, lions are the biggest cats out here. But it's very important that they remain in a pride, so it makes it quite easy for them to be able to find their meal quite often, food. Since they're far too big to be able to hunt separately, and for them to be able to cooperate hunt, that's what they always succeed and sustain their lives. Even kill small prey as an impala because they cooperate when they hunt. Those impalas all surround the game, and then the game finally surrounded, found it in the middle. In that case, in so many of the lions like this, it happens sometimes they come out with maybe 3 different impala or 2, because they don't always aim in one target if it's a small prey. But feeding, corporate feed, where they're all just gonna move into the position of the kill immediately. One that actually get a hold of that kill may try to suffocate while the others already start. And that's a result of maybe finally after the suffocation, eat maybe a little bit because they already start the rest. It's great I have moved this far south from the north. And then it's so great because they have a male still with them, so this is part of these males' territory. And for the female boundary line, come overlap where they are right now. So, Gert and myself, we're going to go stay here for a bit longer with this lion.
Seems to be a very good morning for lions this morning. We're back at and beyond Ngala with the Ross male. And every now and then he's lifting his head and calling back to the pride. We actually heard the others calling just now. But he doesn't look like he's wanting to go that way. I think he's just happy knowing that they're somewhere in the distance. And he's nice and comfortable here. It's actually incredible to think the first time that I saw this lion, they weren't quite habituated with vehicles yet. And so we had a really interesting experience watching him and his brother both learn and grow, because they were quite a bit smaller when they first came in here and took over the Birmingham Pride. In fact, they were actually smaller than the bigger lionesses. But it's been incredible watching them learn and grow and get comfortable in their territory. He's grown so much since the first time I saw him. You can see quite nicely there his forearms and his shoulders are quite muscular. And he is really enjoying his snooze today. There's always just something so majestic about a male lion. We're incredibly lucky to be able to sit here like this with the Big Five and wildlife. I absolutely love my job.
Look what we've got, a northern black Koran. Just trying to display there. You'll see the nod heading, like what he's doing. Now he's moving from bush to bush. Looks like he's looking for something there in particular. Looks like he was chasing something, but look at that nod happening. Usually when it's windy like what it is, you often do find them doing that, but also when they do display, that's what they would also start doing before they head on into a flight, and they make a very loud crackling kak sound, almost like. So I'm not sure what he's after, because it looks like at one point he it's the wind making him do that, but then also goes into like a display kind of a show. Very quick on its feet. And that's what makes it difficult to tell between the displaying and actually not displaying. It's almost very, very similar. But and also being confused with the southern black Koran, which they can actually interbreed with. Just stuck behind that grey camel thorn there. See if he does come out. I think that's exactly what he was heading for, is behind that grey camel thorn. We'll let him be with all his morning exercises, and over to another beautiful property in Africa. Giraffe and Buffalo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Easily 18. All right. Here we are with giraffes and buffalo. It's a nice tower, or you may call it journey of giraffes that are busy moving along the plains here. They have been spooked slightly by the appearance of the buffalo from the forest, and the buffaloes are very excited heading towards Madwalu, and that's why the giraffes are just standing there, not feeding, not moving very fast. This is a typical of what you'd call a tower. Their height gives them the name, and moving together, looks like they're going on a journey, gives them the understanding of a journey of giraffes. Over here there is no dominancy. The ratio of females to males is almost equal, but amongst males there is competition when a female comes into season. Usually they'll try to square it off, early before a female comes into season, so they avoid conflict when a female is ready. You can tell the buffaloes are still running. This is the Cape Buffalo. And also way back there, we have a small herd of toppies. Toppy is an antelope found in East Africa, mainly Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Not very common in most other parks. They do migrate, and it's a very fast antelope. You can tell there is a decision made by the giraffes to leave this area because the excitement in buffaloes is making the giraffes very wary. They're not sure if they're running just because they're excited to get to water, or they're running away because of a predator. And the solution for them is to leave this area. This is just a beautiful scene just to look at it. I'll let you enjoy them walking for a few seconds, see them walking away from us. Is it Lauren? At what age do giraffes leave their mom? Actually, they don't. Is it Ethan? Sorry, I don't know if I got your name right, but they don't. Females don't leave their mothers completely. They stop drinking. They become independent, and they stick around until they're fully grown and ready to breed at the age of around 3 to 5. But suckling starts very early, as soon as they're born, all the way to around 3 to 6 months. When they start eating a lot of solids. But males do break away, sometimes wandering by themselves at the age of around 7 onwards, but mostly they stick around. They live in what is called broken family group, and sometimes you'll see them all together, and sometimes you'll see lone ones. Their height gives them a very added advantage because they can be far away but still spot one another. So you might see one, but you think he's alone, but he can actually spot another one quite far away. I can 100% say that the running of buffalo did spook them, and they have moved away from the safety of the forest where they were browsing, and now they're out in the plains. Them focusing and stopping and looking in different direction, they're trying to spot whatever spooked the buffaloes. And so while they're moving, they're trying to make sure that everything is very safe. I'm gonna follow them and see when they get comfortable so we can share them with you. And while I do that, let's take you to another live location.
sadly, we're just going to catch the tail end of this elephant as he disappears back into the bushes. And so have the other elephant bulls. But we were enjoying watching him dig out bulbs, which was something quite fascinating to see, considering elephants don't have hands. And their digging techniques are fascinating. But anyways, he is going to move off, so I'm deciding what we're going to do. You know what I think we'll do is let's drive. We're going to be quite... Oh, no. Shall we watch a hornbill, maybe look for something to eat? It's not a great view now, but there's a yellow-billed hornbill just sitting in front of the car. There we go. And I'm sorry, I just noticed it now. It's hopping from branch to branch. And one of the least favorite things of safari guides is hairy caterpillars. And the reason why they're not our favorite is because they get into our clothes, especially when you drive past an overhanging branch. And then, of course, you react to it. You get lots of little welts over you, and they're becoming increasingly itchy. So at this time of the year, I'm always thankful for the hornbill species that like to feed on caterpillars and the cuckoos that have arrived back. They are specialist caterpillar feeders. So let's see. I know it's just sitting right now, but maybe it does hop back down onto a branch. It did seem to be actively looking for something to eat. Although I suppose birds spend most of their day looking for food. In the case of a hornbill, it's normally of the insectivore kind, although they will eat small mammals. We had a great sighting not too long ago of a yellow-billed hornbill eating a mouse, which was quite cool. But it seems as though this hornbill's got other plans. So what we will do is, and they also eat reptiles. I mean, they eat anything. I think we forget how opportunistic animals can be. And if they need food, they'll just eat whatever they can take. But anyways, there's a beautiful lookout point. I want to see if we can get to it. Elephants. And it's a knobthorn. No. I don't want to even chop it. Oh. BK, you're lucky that you're on the other side. This is how you get damaged. I'm definitely going to get caught up in this. I'm trying not to scratch. Oh, there go my shorts. Now I'm trapped. I'm trapped because there's also a fallen tree and I don't want to get stuck in the knobthorn. Oh no! This is definitely going to hurt. So what we... I can't go this way now because I'm completely stuck in the tree and on another branch. So we're going to try and get ourselves out of the situation. I think I'm going to go back.
Taylor, I hope you get out of that tree. Shame. We're back at and Beyond Ngala with a very full-bellied lazy cat. But he's been giving us quite a show this morning. Every now and then he stays lying flat on his side and he starts roaring to the other lions in the distance. He's really enjoying his morning snooze. And those big paws, every now and then you see him stretching. Such a powerful cat. What? I think a fly bothered him. You could see even his ear flicked there. Beverly, this Ross male is fully grown. He is around 8 years old now, a bit older, and he is fully grown, but he might maybe fill out a little bit more as he gets older. But from a certain age, lions actually start to get smaller again as they start losing condition. Maybe from 10, 11 years old, they might start getting a bit weaker. They might even start losing some of their mane. But at this stage, he is in his prime. He's nice and big. He's got a massive mane, very full. And they have grown a lot since we first met them. So when we first met them at around 5 or 6 years old, him and his brother were both still quite small. They didn't have a full mane yet. And they weren't quite as muscular. In fact, the lionesses of the Birmingham Pride were bigger than the Ross males at that point. Now they're definitely in their prime, probably weighing around 250 kilograms. Incredibly big. And you can see just from the size of his paws that he is a very built lion. He's very muscular. I mean, if you think about it this way, a full-grown lion using those paws and muscles could run 100 meters in 6 seconds. His mane is needing some conditioner. Yes, maybe it does look quite thick, but it actually serves a purpose that it looks so thick and rough to the touch, because he needs to make sure that he protects his face and his throat, all of those vital organs in a fight. So that's why it does look so thick and frizzy at the moment. But maybe he wouldn't win the beauty contest or a L'Oreal L'Oreal advert. He is a stunning male, though. I actually can't believe that his mane has gotten so much darker. I'm really hoping he decides to lift his head again and give us another roar. It does look like a very peaceful life here, the way that he's lying. Doesn't look like he has a worry in the world, but realistically these male lions do have a very hard time, and so as much as he is resting, he's probably not dead asleep. You'll see his ears flicking, any twigs or branches breaking, any rustling in the grass he might move, because there might be other lions that would try and take over this territory, especially now that these two are getting a bit older. There will be younger lions that come in that might be stronger. And so he does need to make sure that no one wants to take this territory. He fought very hard for the first 5-6 years of his life to take over this territory. Male lions definitely don't have it easy, and so you can see he's covered in scars, and he's quite experienced. Anywhere from 2 years old, male lions are expected to fend for themselves against all of these other dominant males all over, because wherever they go in a territory, there's always going to be other male lions. So for him even to survive to this point is quite incredible. So we're going to sit here with him, and hopefully he decides to communicate with the other lions again.
Sometimes lions have a tough life, and sometimes they have an easy life if they are in a collision. Now here in the Mara we have come across this big buffalo herd, and you see they're very much active. They're grazing as a normal. Buffaloes will eat during the early morning hours as they walk towards a watering hole or a river or a swamp, and then take a rest in the middle of the afternoon. It's always nice watching this kind of herd because it really gives you that feeling that this is a very nice place for these animals to be, because look at the grass, look at the background there, very nice Ololo escarpment. A month ago, this area was inhabited by wildebeest. So these buffaloes keep on having a rotation because they don't mark territories. They have what you call home ranges. They walk from one home range to another, but herds will not overlap home ranges of other herds. So these home ranges sometimes can be utilized like territories. You find that they always come back to the same spots often, depending on availability of food and water. Sometimes you find these herds become small, sometimes they become as big as this. I can see this, I can almost say this is about almost 700. There's lots and lots of buffaloes here. It's a breeding herd. I can see lots of calves, and you can tell they're actually on a mission because they're grazing. They're walking towards the right of the screen where they are heading to a watering hole. That's a young cow there. The calves keep on following their mother for protection, and you find that mostly the ones with calves are always in the middle or the center of these herds to protect them from predators, especially hyenas and lions. On the edges, you'll find lower-ranking females. Graphic, thank you. I'll just keep on saying wow, wow, wow. There's so many of them. Lower-ranking females and lower-ranking males or bulls will always be on the very end tail of these herds. The dominant bulls and the high-ranking females will always be the ones leading these herds. So the lower-ranking males sometimes have an advantage when it comes to a very big herd like this because they don't always cross path with the dominant bull, because he doesn't have that much time to even come back to the back and watch what's going on because they're always leading. You can see how they're split up because everyone wants a good forage. Everyone wants to have that soft grass, especially after the rain. It becomes more soft and has lots of water, and that's why they're enjoying. Because when they're walking in a big group, you find that the leaders or the dominant ones will always take part and eat the very best grass as they're moving on. So the rest, or the lower-ranking ones, get to eat whatever's been left behind. So there's always an advantage when you're leading. But these are old bulls on the fringes. The home ranges sometimes can be up to about 200 kilometers wide, sometimes 100, depending on environmental factors. You find during the drought periods, these buffaloes can walk far, far, far off from where we are. So it actually depends on social or environmental factors that limit their movement. They're all moving in one direction, so you can tell that they're leaders. Sasikasi, thank you for your question. I will not say that they are the meanest of all the wild animals, but they're actually tough and they're actually dangerous to encounter on foot because buffaloes will always defend themselves when they see predators, and because they have that social grouping, they have that social ability to protect their ones from attacks, and that's why they're regarded to be tough and mean. But we also have animals that are very tough out there, so I'll only say that in the savannah these are one of the most dangerous big game to encounter. You can see cattle eagles are beginning to arrive here, enjoying the insects as these bovines are moving on. Lots more arriving. So when herds are moving like this, it's also environmental friendly, ecological friendly, because they help disperse the grass seeds. Not only do they eat the grass, but also help in distribution of the grass. Where sometimes those grass seeds will be picked by their hoofs as they're walking, or chopped off by their hoofs, and then deposited on some other places. So in a group like this, or a herd like this, it's the dominant females that are ones that always make the move. They're the ones that lead where to go. So they're the ones to choose where to go and graze, where to choose to go and drink. So they watch these buffaloes slowly walking through the savannah, overlooking their lowly escarpment. Let me take you over to another live location.
Great. Good idea, Tim. It's always looking at whatever it's in front of you as animals move. The buffalo is one of the best things, but here we have a cat who would hunt also buffalo. Unfortunately, right now, which we don't have a herd of buffalo right here in this spot. But anything would come across here, they will be very much interested on hunting it down, this pride. And it hasn't actually much of a change since they were just lying flat. Here's one female trying to lick herself. Probably it's all about ticks. But I'm definitely sure that if whenever sky is open, they'll move from this area because they're right in the open. There's no shade here. This is all about the temperatures today. And if it doesn't change, and then I'm sure they will be sticking around here. Sorry, I just wanna, can you repeat the Todd's question again? Todd, so you want to know the location? In Chitwa, and just looking if maybe I still got my map here, which I think don't see any. But yeah, we're in a Chitwa, and Gary Main Junction, Chitwa Plains 10 off. So they between Torchwood and Chitwa. From the main road, Gariman, you were able to get a visual of them, not far from the boundary itself, but they're still on the southern side of the border. But it looks like they have made their way slightly north again, since yesterday afternoon they were seen far south from here in one of the property. So I'm definitely sure they will make their way north into Torchwood maybe this afternoon, or they could do that during the day as well, allowing by the weather condition. Still a little bit of a cloudy, so it's not too bad for cats to be able to do their little bit of movement. Knowing that for sure they are nocturnal, but they can also move during the day when they can. It applies the same. This is when they also want to hunt during the day. When it's possible, they do that. Especially this time of year where it's all greenery around. Advantage of them getting close to prey species, even in it's daylight. They would use a termite mound. They will use this type of bushes to be able to get close and close enough. So I'm going to take another moment looking at these cats, if they ever maybe going to stood up for us, or cross north, or from there. Otherwise we're going to move on, and then if they don't do anything. Sorry, Tswalu. Well, like I say, we're just going to take another moment, have a look at this pride, if they would ever maybe stood up or do anything differently. And if there's that, it will be so good actually to get to see them do their movement while we're around. But, if there's anything surprises them here, because many of the prey species, they are diurnal. They move during the day, feed around. Kudus, they're browsers. They find themselves into this wood. And of course, they will be very much on the menu if that happened. The herd of buffalo that we have last week, it looks like they went south into Malamala, that area. Maybe keep this pride shifting a little bit to this far south. But Talamata, I don't think they would go to Malamala. That's why they turn around halfway before they cross that border back north again. They've already done a lot of overlap their range. Look at them, most of them, their heads up, the legs up. And this is all about the process of letting digesting take place, and that happens so quick when they do that. Sometimes they roll the side on the side from time to time, and I'm gonna stick in this sighting here.
We have come to the Buffels Hook waterhole, and there is a hyena. Now, I don't know who this hyena is. I do not know why this hyena is here, other than for the comfort afforded by the bed of mud. But I'm wondering to myself if there isn't perhaps something close by that it might be waiting to snaffle. It doesn't look very comfortable. It's been kind of trying to get comfy for the last 10 minutes or so. I think it looks like quite a nice place to lie. Probably until you have to put your mouth and nose onto the mud and rest your head. Looking and smelling this way all the time. We've done an extensive loop through Torchwood and found absolutely nothing. So I'm not sure where Tundi and her cub are. But we'll enjoy this hyena for now. Then I think we'll probably head north and west. Everything's taken on that kind of mid-morning lull now. The Shivambalana have started calling. Oh. Now, where are you going? And are you going to lead us to the base of a marula tree in which a leopard is sitting with its kill? Was that a yes or a no? Or you were just going to go and lie down there? I think that hyena looks depressed. I think it needs a bit of a pick-me-up. It needs to sing a cheerful song. It looks deeply miserable. Goodbye. Have a lovely day. See you later.
Well, always nice to see hyenas swallowing. But back to my giraffes, a very huge journey. I counted and I lost count at around 35. They're scattered everywhere, there could be more. So it is a proper journey of giraffes, and they're leaving one area to the other, heading out maybe to something that they really like. In tow is a very big herd of buffalo, over 600 of them, stretching from where you can see them all the way behind me. So many. These are the Cape buffalo. It's an animal found in Ethiopia, parts of Ethiopia, southern Ethiopia, Sudan, all the way to southern Africa. They are found. They grow, they go in herds of breeding herds like the one you can see here, or a bachelor herd. A breeding herd consists of mainly everybody, big bulls, females, half-growns and calves. They wander and move a lot because their numbers forces them to be moving constantly on the move in search of fresh grass. It's a water-dependent animal, and this time of the year it must be very happy because there is water everywhere. It has to drink every day. This is a pure grazer. It's a ruminant, meaning that it stores its food in its first chamber of the stomach, the rumen, and then when it's slightly diluted, it goes to the rumen and then goes to the other last chambers of the stomach before it comes out properly utilized. They're very happy, as you can see, wagging their tails. A herd like this is not afraid of anything apart from lions, but sometimes they get spooked. When one runs, everybody runs, but if one goes towards the predator, everybody joins hands. So they're very protective of one another when they're big herds like this. I'll let you enjoy it for a few seconds, the sight, as you listen to the sounds of the oxpeckers and other birds. Definitely, there is a decision to leave this area to another. As you can see, everybody's on the move. Sometimes what causes this is maybe they lost one of their own, or maybe there was a near death, or they were spooked. And so everybody wants to be as far as possible from that experience that they had. Remember, they have very amazing eyesight. Hearing and smell is very well developed, and they use all those senses to detect danger and also to secure the area. This is an animal that lives from around 18 to 26 years. A closest relative to our domestic cows can weigh up to 700 kilos for females and about 900 kilos for males. The one you're looking at there is a female. They have very different horns than males. You see the one behind there is a male, thicker middle of the horns called boss, meant for fighting and also for cushioning them when they hit each other, the impact, they can reduce that. Look at how many there are. The little one is slightly brown. It's sort of a color that they have, but they lose it quite quickly at around 6 months. Well, enjoy that scene while we take you to the next live location.
Welcome back to the Mara, where we have a buffalo slowly walking towards the road. The rest of the herd has actually crossed the road and heading to the marsh, I think. It's a very big herd, and sometimes when you come across these big herds, you find that lots of calves enjoy because there's protection. You can see that those two very playful. They also have to walk slowly because of the calves. Sometimes they get too tired. I've seen that during the droughts, when they're going to fetch water or to drink from a long distance away, those calves sometimes end up being tired, and their mothers have to stay behind and wait for them. And that's sometimes what makes them split up, forming two herds. Just like I was saying, these herds fluctuate depending on social or environmental factors. Oh, well, that one is so playful, so happy. See him jumping up around. The rains brings lots of excitement, and that is evident watching that buffalo there. You can see how he's jumping up around. So as they're walking like this, you find that they don't only eat grass, they can also eat on leaves on those bushes. Very nice herd. Actually one of the biggest to come across so far.
So we are still sitting with our very lazy Ross male at Anbiondangala. And it's actually, the sun has just broken through the clouds, so for the first time he actually had to move and find a patch of shade. And now he's nice and comfortable underneath these squarry trees. He's definitely having a very relaxing day. But I just love, actually, you can see very nicely there the dirt on his paws from walking, but I think also from being at that carcass. Every now and then he gives us a big sigh or a bit of a snore. That big belly is definitely making him lazy today. His body's working very hard to digest all of that food. So later on, he's probably going to actually have to go and find some water to try and help with the digestion and cool him down. But for now, as it's getting a bit hotter, I think he's going to try and get... And then you might find later on they'll groom each other. So if he finds the rest of the pride or maybe even some water, he might start grooming himself to get rid of some of that dirt. But for now, he's just enjoying an amazing nap.
Yes, a very strange little scene. An Impala lamb on its own. I don't know where its mother is. There were some not far from here. But why this little chap? Oh. Shame. I think it's probably heading towards the ones that we had earlier, just down the road there. Hopefully it will be reunited and not devoured. Anyway, that was that. We will not try and re-find it. There were some drongos shouting their heads off in here. I thought there might be a bird of prey or a predator. But then that little thing came out and I thought maybe not. Probably all clear. Or a predator that doesn't want to see us. Either way, we shall continue. The hyena came off towards this area. Looked slightly like it was on a bit of a mission, but it wasn't exactly sort of, I don't know, racing this way. So we'll see. Maybe we'll be lucky in the last hour of our drive. It was round here that we had Tlalamba with that little steenbok a while back. And so we're in her territory.
I hope James manages to find his big cats. We are still sitting with our amazing lazy big cat over here at Ngala. And it is such a beautiful day. But for a while, I just want you to appreciate the sounds around us, the birds calling. Maybe we might even hear the other lions roaring in the distance. Just imagine yourself from his perspective having a nice nap in the shade of a tree, surrounded by nature. I can hear the insects buzzing. I can hear birds. The cicadas are starting to make a noise as well. It's an incredibly peaceful place to have a nap. So this lion is looking rather full, so even if something presented itself and the opportunity to hunt did arise, he might not necessarily take it because he has eaten so much. But that being said, all big cats are opportunistic, all predators are. So if something presented itself and it was a very easy situation for him to kill something, he might actually go for it. So normally what we find is the way that he's lying now with such a big belly, even if, say, an impala or something walked past, he might pick up his head and look at it. But he won't necessarily chase it unless it is an opportunity that he can't refuse, essentially. So maybe it's right here in the bushes, it hasn't seen him and it's only a few meters away, then he might go for it. But at this stage, he just looks nice and relaxed. So he might actually pick up his head a little bit and move a bit more with this vehicle coming in, just to see what's happening. Good on you. So we're going to sit here with him while he's snoring away and see maybe as the heat gets a bit more, he might start moving a bit later.
So, from a big male lion to a slightly younger male of the same species, we have been looking all morning here at Ambion Pinder for something to show you, and finally we found this group of 3 sub-adult male lions here in the grasslands of the south, and they are just lying quite relaxed in this quite long green grass. It's it's almost like a sea of grass that we parked our car in, and we just can see this lion sticking its head up over the grass. So if it lies flat, we'd probably completely not see it. The grass is about knee high, and there's no sign of these 3 young male lions' mother. I think they might be waiting for her here. I think that she might have gone off to maybe look for something to eat, left them alone for a bit, and if she comes right and does manage to kill something, she'll come back here and call them, and then take them back to whatever she's killed. So they're being very patient and well behaved here, waiting for her to come back. You see this young lion, his little mane, it's just starting to grow. These blonde, sort of wispy mane out of his cheeks, and also just on the top of his head. And I can imagine this lion is only about 11 months old. When he's 2, maybe 2.5, that's when his mane will kind of be grown out to its fullest. So he's still got a lot of growing to do, and also a lot of size to put on. So we're going to stay here and see maybe if this mother returns to her male cubs, or if maybe they get up to something interesting. We're going to send you now off to...
Beautiful. So we have decided to leave the pride of lions because they just fled there. We may return back. Just going to search around, but then we come across this beautiful, looks like a lawn now for now, a ground hornbill on its forage, searching around here. Then looks like it's a male, but it looks like it. In the southern ground hornbill, they spend a lot of their time forage on the ground, feed on anything from tortoises, land snails, and vertebrates. So they are feed on quite a lot of things, snakes, a lizard. And that's why when you look at this bird, it's going under these bushes, because there's a chance some of these snails, if it's not rain, they go to the shade to hide until it's wet enough for them to be able to move around. And these birds exactly know what to do and how to find this food around here, because they grow up doing it, a lot of forage. And they're one of the birds that live longer than most birds here. 65, sometimes 70 years lifespan. You mainly find them in group. Pam, good morning. Welcome to your lovely live show. No, they nest in trees most of the time. So in one of these curved trees, wherever it's safe, as long as it's in a height. And then for that, to put the nest in there, 2 eggs at a time. And this is what sometimes the conservationists more aware about, saving these species of birds wherever they know exactly where these birds nesting. They have to investigate. Got to make sure they remove 1 egg, take it to the incubation, and then leave 1 behind. Because what happened there, the first one hatch, more likely to feed on the second hatch, chicks. Sometimes find so much harder for them to be able to sustain their breeding. And I do make a call when you hear this call, grey, you're right, this beak is very strong. And you look at that, it's always showing a gap a little. You can almost see through the other side. And then it's actually very rough. Where it's a little gap, and this is where there is more, a little grab. And then that, when they do that, they're able to cut pieces in pieces, whatever they feed on, especially snack, a whole snack rolled around. Looks like it's got a little bit of a feed in there. And there are the biggest species of all hornbills out here. They are still same family as a yellow-billed hornbill, those grey hornbill. They come biggest species. Fully grown always see the red face or the kind of a wattle around their big faces as well. Okay, so these little wattles you see right around their face actually displays the adult maturity of the bird. So the young one doesn't actually have or carry red around this throat or around their eyes. All you see, it's just kind of like grey started to develop or started to change yellow when they're anything from 7 years, 7.5, 8 years old. And they only develop these red when they're grown up. And the female, she would have a little bright bluish, but very hard to see it, but just below the beak, along this little wattle. Oh, it's got a tortoise, looks like. Let's see, maybe it's not, but it's just leave it again. That was just a little tortoise. I'm not sure why it's separate from the rest of the group, but they do have make actually very good communication. I just thought, this is right behind us. And they make actually very good communications. When you hear them, flying off. It's right there still. So when you hear them, it almost sounded like maybe a big cat, like lions vocal from distance. But they in Shangaan, they call vututu, but they call the make, it's all vutu, 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 vutu. So that's where the name came from the Shangaan, but they are southern ground hornbill. I'm going to leave this bird here and search these eastern boundaries. If you see, maybe it's a leopard around for us.
Ground hornbill are very, very unique birds. You always encounter them walking on the ground, but then how the male protects the female when she's incubating is very interesting. Now here we have two bulls. You can see the one to the left is older than the one to the right. They're actually browsing and walking very fast. So I've been forced to be driving on reverse to get a very good view as soon as they walk out of the screen. I've identified and followed these bulls for quite a long time. They're normally in a group of 5. So he's actually the biggest of all the 5. I wonder where the 3 are. But it's always nice finding these bulls. They walk a long distance, The last time I saw them was where we always see the River Pride, and this is where we always see the Owino Pride. So looks like they've come all the way from the border. So bulls walk a very long distance in search of females to mate with, and sometimes because they're always solitary, it's not unusual to see them in a different place. It seems like a very busy morning for these two. I like the way he's enjoying the grass while also picking on some bushes. So bulls as they male elephants as they grow up. Tyler, thank you for your question. Elephants can cover up to about 60 kilometers in a day. So depending on the environment they're in, if it's maybe walking towards water or maybe a good grazing ground, so elephants can travel a long distance. Sometimes I've heard that they can even get up to about 170 kilometers, especially in very harsh, hostile environments. In the male society, as they grow up, they walk through different kind of society, from juvenile graduating to adults. So when they come across big bulls like this, they have to learn how to conduct themselves in the new order. Also have to conduct in a very good behavior so that they can fit in the male society like this. How to deal with mask, and sometimes how to behave in front of older bulls like him, because these old bulls demand respect. They're the ones who teach the younger bulls that join them on the mating etiquette. Look at how big and tall he is, just walking behind that bush. I just have to reverse for a better view of these two. Look at how tall he is.
Well, here I have a saddle beanstalk and busy preening and drying their wet wings and feathers. This is a bird that they pair for life, and the only difference between both is the female has got a nice bright eye. Look at how he folds his knees forwards. Very unusual. It's one of the only few birds can do that. The saddle beanstalk is the tallest of all stalks. It can stand up to around 4 feet. It's got a wingspan of up to 8 to 9 feet, so it's very, very big. And it's very widespread. Wherever there is water, you will see it. It is carnivorous, feeding on fish, tadpoles, insects, small reptiles, and there are very many ways to eat. This is also one of the few stocks that the young ones stay back at home when they hatch. And they can fly, but spend a lot of their time on the ground. Yeah, looks like they have decided that's a good spot to dry their wings and feathers and everything else. It has been a wet night. Yeah, looks beautiful to see them seated like that. Normally they're busy. Very colorful, as you can see. listen to the sound of the frogs. So this area is full of food for them. Well, the long legs you saw when they were standing enable these huge birds to wade through deep water in search of fish. And the long beak, they're able also to pick up the fish with ease by stabbing it or grabbing it quite quickly. And here looks like they're going to be resting for a little bit longer. It looks very relaxed. It's a nice spot, high, elevated, and so they can see anything that approaches them. Remember, it's one of the most colorful, stocks of many. And it's very widespread in Africa, from here all the way to southern Africa. Wherever there is water, you'll find this colorful bird. Yeah. Marco, how long does it take for this bird to digest their food? Well, all birds have got a very fast metabolism, but I'm not actually sure. Maybe one of my other guides my colleagues will help me with that. I don't know how fast they digest, but my guess is very quick, and it's less than 12 hours. But maybe there is a specific time that I don't know. Maybe my colleagues will assist me on that. Marco? Looks like he's yawning. I don't know. I've never seen that behavior before, but it was yawning. He did that twice. Maybe it's getting sleepy or tired and catching a nap. Well, I hope Yep. Garcia, do birds yawn, you ask? Yes, they do. They do yawn. We just saw this one yawn, and very many of them do yawn. It is something that is in all of the birds. They do yawn. And looks like they're getting comfy. Time to take in much needed rest. Yeah, over to the left there we have a grey heron and also a great white egret. And extreme back over there we have, I think, Egyptian geese. Well, I'll leave you to enjoy the sound of the frogs as I prepare to head on.
Our elephant has decided to use the road. So I think after they close the show, I'll not be heading home until this bull decides to step out of the road. Look at how gigantic he is, actually filling up the entire road. Normally we see lots of elephants walking from the escarpment towards the marsh, and that direction that is heading is where lots of herds are. And I think as soon as he comes across an elephant herd, he'll be walking amongst them to check if the females might be in season. The reason why they cover much ground is because of how he's walking. So when elephants are actually feeding or not in a mission, they just be walking slowly. But it seems like he's up to something while enjoying the grass, the fresh grass that's on the road and the reeds there. And the young elephant bull is actually falling slowly. So when you see big bulls like this, you always know that the younger ones always within the periphery, within his whereabouts, because they learn from him. He's the one that is in control. We always call those guards or askari. It's Swahili name for guard is askari. His friend is just catching up with him. He's found a good spot where he sprinkled himself with mud. So amongst the bachelor herd, there's always hierarchy, and they always submit to the older bulls, like the one up in front, because he's got lots of experience from generation to generation, where he's walked from all terrains, he's faced all sorts of calamities, and be it fights from older bulls, because once upon a time that old bull also joined a herd like this, where he had to submit to an older bull, and eventually he learned from watching how that bull conducted himself in this kind of environment. Louise, he's got so much in his mind. So these bulls will always be by themselves, but occasionally or randomly they come into contact with female groups of calves and younger bulls. And once they go walk through those herds, you just definitely see how it changes. Everyone freezes, because when these older bulls appear or walk through those herds, they have to submit, because these kind of bulls demand respect, especially the one up in front. I also had to give him way. You can see he's using the road. So such big bulls, sometimes you never know what kind of life they've gone through, because sometimes elephants can go through post-traumatic stress disorders, and you find that if you don't give them space, sometimes those stress levels can trigger, and that is what sometimes forces elephants to be aggressive. So when you give them space, when you give them all that they require, that quietness, that space, they're happy just to even come closer to the vehicle, as we experience lots of times when these elephants just move closer to the vehicles as they carry on grazing or feeding, even drinking. Sometimes when you're tracking elephants, we drive on the road and you see the dragging effects of how these bulls keep on dragging their trunks. Sometimes these trunks are too heavy, and you find that they'll always be dragging them on the road. Or sometimes they use their tusks to carry their trunks. So bulls have that tendency, have that behavior of using the road, walking along the road for long distance, even sometimes 5 kilometers just using the road and walking all the way to where they want to go. Whereas females sometimes we just utilize the road just for a little while, maybe when crossing the roads to get from either side. But bulls has that kind of behavior, just to use the road as they carry on to where they're going. So just keep on following these bulls. Very, very nice to see elephants in their natural habitat enjoying themselves like this. So as I move closer, let me take you over to another live location.
So we have left our Ross male on Ngala, and we're driving along the river, and we came across these two young Vervet monkeys. They're sitting in the tree. They keep coming closer to have a look at what we're doing. And this is absolutely one of my favorite animals to see. I've got so many stories about Vervet monkeys from growing up, visiting the Kruger National Park every year with my family. They are incredibly intelligent, and these two, we actually don't know where the rest of the troop is. These two are both still, I would say, in their teenage age, climbing up the tree. So I think because it's heating up a bit, they're starting to get a bit more active, moving around looking for food, and they very likely slept somewhere. Got some crested francolins behind us making a noise. They very likely slept here somewhere last night, and maybe the rest of the troop might be on the ground or in the other trees foraging. They are certainly very curious about us. So vervet monkeys are actually quite varied in what they eat. At the moment, sitting in this quarry, they might be eating some leaves, but they'll even eat insects if the insects come past, and they can actually be quite good predators. They might grab smaller mammals and eat those. But these two youngsters look like they're having more fun than food here. It's one of those things that's incredibly playful, especially when it's younger. It's actually something that I've always admired about vervet monkeys in particular, is how agile they are when they're moving from one branch to another. They're so fast when they move. There you can see that one is both of them actually jumping around. I think that's a very common misconception about them, is that they have a prehensile tail, and they don't. Anna Marie vervet monkeys definitely can be little rascals, but yes, they are incredibly cute, especially when they're this young. Anna Marie, I once had a very embarrassing experience where a monkey was trying to be a little rascal, and I thought I was being brave and moving it away. And when I tried to move towards it to try and just get a bit of distance, it actually pulled my pants right down to my ankles. Took one look at me, jumped onto my pants and pulled them right down. So yes, they certainly can be little rascals. My brothers always thought that was a very funny story, because they were sitting in the car watching it while we were packing up from a picnic spot. But this one is certainly very curious about us. It seems to be the younger of the two. It's slightly smaller, and you can see it moving its head, so it's judging a bit of distance, looking at the movement of what we might be doing. Maybe it heard my story and decided to come closer. we're going to spend a bit of time here with these two cheeky youngsters and see what happens.
Once when I was at Ngala, where I hope it isn't that those rather disturbing monkeys live, I did a little insect project, and what I did was I walked from acacia tree to acacia tree, as they were back then. They're now Vachilias, and I investigated what insects there were on the trees, just for fun. And we used to make a little...
Back in the Mara week.
Alright. Sorry. We now heading down to Garidem. Hopefully we get something around here. Oh, looks like these are elephants in the bush somewhere. I'm just gonna try. Oh, they're coming right to us. Look at this head. Isn't that beautiful? So we've got these beautiful herd of elephants coming right at us. I would assume this is the same herd of elephants we saw them early this morning. They wouldn't come out for us into that thicket. But I think they come from Garidem here, which I think they're a little wet on their feet. Probably been into water there. Actually, they didn't swim there because it's not hot. There's still plenty of them to come. Another big female. Can't tell if that is her baby. She's gonna walk right straight towards us. I'm gonna take this silent of a moment. Was that all great? So all kind of like they're all just gonna cross the road, but from the far end, we just see a little bit of a quarter of a herd over here. The rest of them have moved on the far side. Can't even see them. All see there's a trees movement as they're moving through. Was a kind of a communication rumble of a tummy that they were doing here. This is all about moving in the same direction, making sure they're all in touch to one another. I'm going to drive slightly backwards so we can still see them. We can be able to do that. Got them there. So I think this is all about now moving away from the waterhole, move to somewhere where they haven't been to for maybe a few days. Muay Thai. I agree with you, especially when they were moving towards the vehicles. Such a big animal like that, you would expect a lot of a footstep on them, but it was hardly actually nothing you can hear almost. And there's still communication there going on. It's one of the so cool things about elephants. They're so big, but when they are a leopard lover, yes, that actually sound come from their tummy most, but it sounded like through the kind of like inside them, but they can do kind of like very much trumpet through the trunk as well, but not all the time. But sometimes they can kind of growl, which is through the mouth when they do that. So that sound that we actually keep hearing now, it's actually from the inside. So it's more like a rumble instead of a trumpet or louder from their mouth. Look at these two, they're going to go across the road. It was so amazing. I'm going to check the dam there, if there is any of them still around the water hole. Or otherwise we'll come back this way, search for these one. Hopefully we'll get them on the next road.
Well, this is a scene rarely seen, so I'm very happy to share this with you. This is what we call a journey or a tower of giraffe. So beautiful, it is hard to explain, and the best I can do is to leave Bungay to do his magic with cameras, and I'll take in some questions as they head towards us. Well, Elizabeth, thank you for your comment. What amazing sight. Yes, indeed. It is very rare to come across this kind of scene, especially in this time and date where giraffe is an endangered species. It is great to see them together, huddled up together, and there's something going on in their minds right now. Some of them have never used a bridge, and they've come to where there's a bridge, and so they were a bit wary, but it looks like we have a leader. Some of them have decided that the bridge is foreign and they better go down to the water, to the side of the bridge. I don't know if this guy just noticed me, but you can tell his body language is very different. Well, this is amazing, guys. Enjoy it a little bit more. Senka, how often do they move in groups? It's not very common to see them closely and tightly in a group like this. Yeah, those ones are not very sure, so they have retreated, but for sure they will come. Annie, why are these so many of them together? Every now and then, a situation like this, to cross a bridge like this, forces them to huddle and to be close to one another. And this could be the case, that everywhere else it's very rough and deep, and so this is one of the only places to cross. And it could be safety in numbers to cross, and that's why they've come here to cross together. I'm gonna go quiet and let you enjoy as they come. Yeah, this is so beautiful, guys. I'm trying to stay as cool and quiet as possible to allow them to cross. They're very wary of me, and there's enough distance between me and them, so there's nothing to worry, but the crossing is quite different from what they're used, and for some reason they notice it's not natural to have just a narrow strip in the middle of the running water, and so some of them prefer not to use it. We have seen one big male use it. Maybe they'll go off to the right. Yeah, double checking. Looks like natural is better, what they're used to. I'm gonna go through water. Yes, it's not very deep. Origama, you say you counted 24 to 25. They could have been, I didn't count the ones that crossed, but earlier on I had counted about 37 so they could have split. But the reason they're coming this way, definitely, it's known to them. It could be some type of browse that they need, and that's why they're coming this way. And they're used to crossing here. When there are this many, there's no big danger. And already a few have crossed, so there's assurance that they crossed safely. So everything is okay. Well, it looks very interesting. Everybody must be very safe, and that's what is going on through their mind. Well, it's been a very beautiful morning with different things, and this is a great site to end with. On behalf of all the directors and my colleagues in Southern Africa, and also my colleagues in East Africa, the Masai Mara, I'd like to say goodbye and see you this afternoon. Enjoy this last bit.